to you.
Be that guy, Lord Balaram, is next to you.
Also, Diddy was saying about Tulsi, and necessarily they put Tulsi next to the. Can you imagine one of our Tulsi plants would be like, take up the whole camera?
We are going live in a minute. No, right now.
Or the Bhakti Connect. Yeah. The Bhakti Connect, yeah.
Is it there?
Jai Jai Shri Nama Shreshtam Manumapi Sachiputram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasya Grajam Uruparim Maturim Gostavatam Radhakundam Girivaram Aho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya-lila, Chapter 2, entitled The Chastisement of Junior Haridas. Jai Srila Gurudev, Hare Krishna. And we have just finished the description of how Mahaprabhu appears in 3 ways. Shakshat, Avirbhav, and Avesh. Direct, during his pastimes, manifest pastimes. Avesh, through empowerment. And Avirbhav, his presence. Presence that is non-physical. Shakshat is direct physical presence. Avirbhav is Mahaprabhu's presence where he is there, but not physically. We gave the example of Srila Guru Maharaj talking about being visited by Gauranga Mahaprabhu, feeling his presence. That's an example of Avirbhav manifestation. And another example is when
What is so funny? Maybe you can share the joke.
The Chidadahi festival, at Panihati of Nityananda Prabhu and Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami organized the Chidadahi festival. And at Nityananda Prabhu's request. And it is said that Gauranga Mahaprabhu was there. And that is another instance of the Avirbhav manifestation. Mahaprabhu was not there physically, but he was there nonetheless. So, we've yesterday we finished at that point, and Kaviraj Goswami is giving a couple of examples of the Avesh manifestation. He gives the example of Nishramananda Brahmachari and Nakula Brahmachari. How Mahaprabhu entered into them, empowered them to perform various functions. Says Nakula Brahmachari became exactly like a ghost, like a man haunted by a ghost, in a good way. Thus he sometimes laughed, sometimes cried, sometimes danced, chanted like a madman. Ashru kampa stamba sveda sattvika vikara nirantara preme nritya sagana hunkara. He continuously exhibited bodily transformations of transcendental love. Then he cried, trembled, became stunned, perspired, danced in love of Godhead, and made sounds like a cloud. Taiche Gaura Kanti Taiche Sara Prema Vesha Taha Deki Bari Aishe Sarva Goda Desha. His body shone with the same luster as that of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he showed the same absorption in ecstatic love of Godhead. People from all the provinces of Bengal, they came to see these symptoms. Yari deke tare kahe kaha Krishna nam. Tanhara darshane lokahaya premadan. Prema Dharma, not Dana, Dharma. He advised whomever he met to chant the holy names of Krishna. Thus, upon seeing him, people were overwhelmed with love of Godhead. Chaitanya avesha haya nakulera dehe shuni Shivananda haila kariya sandehe. When Shivananda Sain heard that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had entered the body of Nakula Brahmachari, he went there with doubts in his mind. Pariksha karite tanra yabe ichahaila bahire rahia tabe vichara karila. Desiring to test the authenticity of Nakula Brahmachari, he stayed outside, thinking as follows. Apane bolana more ihayadi jani amara ishta mantra jani kahina apane tabe jane inhate haya Chaitanya aveshe eta chinte Shivananda rahila duradeshe. If Nakula Brahmachari personally calls me and knows my worshipful mantra, then I shall understand that he is inspired by the presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thinking in this way, he stayed some distance apart. Ashankya lokera gata keha aishayaya lokera sangate keha darshana napaya. There was a large crowd of people, some coming and some going. Indeed, some people in that great crowd could not even see Nakula Brahmachari. Aveshe Brahmachari kahe Shivanande achedure janadui chare yaha bola hatahare. In his inspired state, Nakula Brahmachari said, Shivananda Sain is staying some distance away. 2 or 4 of you go and call him. Chari deke daya loke Shivananda bole Shivananda kon tamaya bolaya Brahmachari. Thus people began running here and there, calling in all directions, Shivananda, whoever is Shivananda, please come. Nakula Brahmachari is calling you. Suni Shivananda Sena Tanha Shigrahaila Namaskara Kari Tanra Nikate Vasila. Hearing these calls, Shivananda Sain quickly went there, offered obeisances to Nakula Brahmachari, and sat down near him. Brahmachari Bale Tumi Karila Samshaya Ekamana Hana Shuna Tahara Nishchaya. Nakula Brahmachari said, I know that you are doubtful. Now please hear this evidence with great attention. Gora Gopala Mantra Tomara Charyaskara Avishvasa Charaye Kariyacha Antara. You are chanting the Gora Gopal mantra composed of 4 syllables. Now please give up the doubts that have resided within you. Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains the Gora Gopal mantra in his Amrita Pravahabhasya. Worshippers of Sri Gaurasunda accept the 4 syllables Gaura Anga as the Gaura mantra. But pure worshippers of Radha Krishna accept the 4 syllables of Radha Krishna as the Gaura Gopal mantra. However, Vaishnavas consider Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu non-different from Radha Krishna. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Anna. Therefore, one who chants the mantra Gauranga and one who chants the names of Radha Krishna are on the same level. So that's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's, that's from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary called the Amrita Pravahabhasya. Tabe Shivanandera mane pratiti haila aneka samana kari bahu bhakti kaila. Shivananda Sain thereupon developed full confidence in his mind that Nakula Brahmachari was filled with the presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shivananda Sain then offered him respect and devotional service. E mata Mahaprabhura achintya prabhava ebe shuna prabhura yaiche haya avirbhava. In this way, one should understand the inconceivable potencies of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now please hear how his appearance, Avirbhav, takes place. Nakula.
Nakula. Can you just remind us who he was? Sorry.
He's an associate of one of the many associates of Mahaprabhu. I don't know too many details about his life. He's not, you could say, one of the more prominent associates who features widely in various pastimes. And nor, as you could say, Nishramananda Brahmachari, who is also given as another example of this Avesh manifestation of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. But this is, I'd imagine, one of the more poignant, famous incidents in the life of Nakula Brahmachari. It's recorded here. There's a book we have here with the brief bio of all the associates of Mahaprabhu. So if you're interested in more details of Nakula Brahmachari, then I'd imagine there's probably an entry there.
Just to know what relationship he had with Mahaprabhu, so that he experienced this, how's it called?
Avesh.
Mm-hmm.
Avesh means empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
No, like Shakti Avesh. Like Shakti Avesh.
Yeah, Shakti means energy. So Shakti Avesh means empowered with the energy. Avesh means empowerment. So Shakti Avesh is a type of empowerment. E mata Mahaprabhura achintya prabhava ebesuna prabhura yaiche haya avirbhava. In this way, one should understand the inconceivable potencies of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now please hear how his appearance, avirbhav, takes place. Satchera mandire ara nityanandanartane shrivasa kirtane ara raghava bhavane echari tani prabhura sada avirbhav prema krishta haya prabhura sahajas vabhav. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always appeared in 4 places: in the household temple of Mother Sachi, in the places where Nityananda Prabhu danced, in the house of Srivas Pandit during the congregational chanting, and in the house of Raghava Pandit. He appeared because of his attraction to the love of his devotees. That is his natural characteristic. So the general principle here, of course these are specifically, there's not arbitrary mentions, these 4 locations where Mahaprabhu manifests via his avirbhav function. But the general principle is that whenever there's devotion, that devotion attracts Mahaprabhu, attracts Krishna. So Krishna will manifest wherever there is devotion in the heart of the devotee, real devotion, substantial act, the real product. And this has been further elaborated in other places. So Sachimata's devotion is largely expressed through her cooking. So it's been said that the kitchen of Sachimata. And Nityananda Prabhu is dancing. Dancing of Nityananda Prabhu's devotion is expressed in his dancing. Srivas Pandit's kirtans, the nocturnal, there are often nocturnal kirtans. In the nocturnal kirtans, at night. And Raghava Pandit, also the dancing, perhaps, I'll have to check that. Vakreshwara Pandit was a dancer, Raghava Pandit. Who was famous for his cooking, his following the principles of Vaidhi Bhakti in his cooking, Raghava Pandit.
Krishna was the dancer.
Well, there are quite a few dancers. But Krishna Pandit was known as a dancer, but not the dancer. a dancer. Haridas Thakur was also a dancer. Gadadhar Pandit was a dancer. Nityananda Prabhu was a dancer. Mahaprabhu was a great dancer. Gaura Nata Raja means the golden king of dancers. You witness that dancing, you'll never be the same again.
And there was one in Puri, and he had a little group of dancers himself, and Mahaprabhu was very enchanted by his dancing in Jagannath Puri when the Rath Yatra was on. It's in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, but I forget. It also began Raghunanda. Is it Raghunanda? He was also a fantastic dancer. Enchanting. Mahaprabhu was really enchanted.
Yeah. Well, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it's described. I mean, there may be description in the Chaitanya Bhagavat too. It's quite likely. Chaitanya Bhagavat has more detail on the first half of Mahaprabhu's life, prior to sannyas. And the Chaitanya Charitamrita has more detail on the later leelas of Mahaprabhu, after Navadvip. Second half of Mahaprabhu's life,
Right.
the Chaitanya Charitamrita has more detail about the second half of his life. In general, it doesn't mean that the Chaitanya Charitamrita doesn't cover Mahaprabhu's early life. It does. The Antya-lila does do that. But there's more detail in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. The pastimes covered in the Chaitanya Bhagavat are intentionally omitted from the Chaitanya Charitamrita because Kaviraj Goswami didn't want to displace the work of Vrindavan Das Thakur. Didn't want to overshadow him or make his work obsolete or diminish it in any way. So he intentionally didn't cover in detail those pastimes that were covered in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. But yeah, I mean, I'm not too familiar. It's been a while since I read Chaitanya Bhagavat. And I never read it in verse form because there's translations that are in prose form. It seems that's the way.
I just read it, the big yellow one.
The big yellow one.
The top on the front.
Oh, right. Well, there's a few different editions around. But it's in prose form, right?
What do you mean prose?
Well, it's not in verse form.
Yeah,
Just text, prose.
Like a book, yeah.
Yeah, prose form, yeah. So, back to the dancing in Rath Yatra, it's described in Antya-lila, Mahaprabhu's ecstatic dancing at Rath Yatra. There's a whole chapter dedicated to it. And it describes how he divides his associates up into multiple kirtan parties, perhaps 5 different groups. And there's like 2 mridangas in each group, and there's a dancer or 2 in each group, and there's a singer and also in each group. And the names of the devotees that are playing, that have these roles in the kirtan is given as well. So there's one singer, and so I mean, of course, the devotees were given these kirtan roles according to their expertise. So some were naturally inclined to dance, and others to lead the kirtan singing, others to play the mridanga. So there were multiple kirtan parties, and the names of the figures that were playing these roles were also given. We can look at it right now if you like, maybe another time. But it's given there. So anyway, back to this. For some reason I thought the dancing of Raghava Pandit, but we have already the dancing of Nityananda Prabhu. And the kitchen, the cooking of Sachi Mata. Sachi Mata was said to have made a particularly good banana flour curry. Banana flour sabji preparation. A particular, like a mean banana flour curry. That people would remember it years later. You know the pastime of I think it was Paramananda Puri. Maybe not. Anyways, one disciple of, I think, Madhavendra Puri. But anyway, Mahaprabhu had met him coming towards the end of his South India tour. he had met him, and this was kind of in central India. It was crossing back from the west coast across to the east coast. And he met someone in the line of Madhavendra Puri, direct disciple or grand disciple, perhaps a direct disciple. And he had informed Mahaprabhu that his older brother, whose name was Shankararanya, had died there at that place a few years previous. Mahaprabhu was interested to know what had happened to his brother, his fate of his older brother, who had taken sannyas and left as a young man, like as a teenager. And he had died young, and at this particular place. And Mahaprabhu had learned this from this sannyasi, I think disciple of Madhavendra Puri, I believe. And during that meeting, this sannyasi recounted how many, many years before he had travelled through Navadvip, and he had been hosted at the house of Jagannath Mitra and Sachi Devi. And she had made this banana leaf preparation, this banana flower preparation. And it was one of the highlights of his visit to Navadvip. So many years later, he'd still remembered just how the taste of it. He was saying, "Oh, that taste of that preparation, it was so amazing. I've never tasted anything before or since like that, ever." So the cooking of Sachi Mata is one place where her temple, and in her temple, of course, is where the food is offered, becomes prasad. And Raghava Pandit was also, I believe, exemplified for his practices of Vaidhi Bhakti in his cooking. High standards of Vaidhi Bhakti. He would spend a lot to buy the highest quality produce, even having it shipped in from neighboring districts. Highest quality mangoes and other produce. He would have it shipped in and meticulously prepare it. Like his standards would put most people to shame. Even the most fastidious of hygiene-obsessed chefs. Like, really his standards of purity were so high. There's an incident described where someone touched the ceiling while cooking, and he was asked to bathe afterwards. But anyway, Raghava Pandit's standard, he was renowned for that level of Vaidhi Bhakti. Not that everyone can live that, but these examples are given. Really, it's kind of to show the different natures of devotees and how their devotion is expressed. How there's individuality and various kind of ways in which devotees can express devotion. How devotion is exemplified in their lives. Not that everyone has to try and fit into a particular mold. Rather, quite the opposite. That's why this story is like, for instance, Haridas Thakur. We're going to learn about his glories in the subsequent chapter 3. He is the Namacharya. He would chant so many rounds per day, often very loudly.
Oh, yeah.
But not everyone can do that. But that's his. He is exemplifying that service. Raghava Pandit in his cooking, in his high standards of Vaidhi Bhakti, etc. Different services are to give how devotion can be expressed in different ways in the devotees' lives. It's not all one kind of robotic, mechanistic, uniform, standardized expression that everyone has to fit into. It's actually very individual, and it can develop along those individual avenues as one has skills or tastes, proclivities, and certain that run along certain avenues, certain channels. Then the bhakti is expressed and it's developed along those channels. So it's very personalized. In the beginning stages of Vaidhi Bhakti, perhaps not. Perhaps there are various uniform processes that are applicable to everyone. But as bhakti develops in a person's life and as it matures, then it becomes highly individualized. Because it is a living, personal thing. It's not a routine, mechanistic, standardized non-living process, but rather quite the opposite, dynamic, personal.
Prabhu, it's a good opportunity for me to ask you a question. I wanted to ask you for a while about the 9 processes of bhakti.
Yeah.
What you just said, does it mean that one doesn't have to perform those 9 processes? It's more about focusing on the one who is more suitable to us, more.
Yeah.
Is it like this?
Yeah, it can be. You don't have to do all 9. Any perfection can be achieved through focusing on any one of the 9 processes. And this is given in the scripture, that various people have achieved perfection by, in the Bhagavatam it's given how various devotees, famous devotees, have achieved perfection through focusing on one particular process of devotional service. And I forget all the correlations. I do remember that Ambarish Maharaj achieved perfection through a practicing of all 9 of the processes, which basically means the answer to your question is yes and no, in the sense that some devotees focus on 1, some 2 or 3, some all of the processes.
But it's as if,
so
if we say this, it's as if those 9 processes are independent one of the other. But on the other hand, it seems like there is a correlation between them. One leads to the other ones. There is a chronology, isn't it? At the first steps, we do hearing and chanting, and I don't know.
Yeah, hearing comes first,
Yeah.
and that intentionally comes first. It's not just an arbitrary placement that Shravan is the first one on the list.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first on the list for a reason, because the whole process starts with hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And Shravan, hearing, Kirtan, speaking or chanting, and that is supposed to lead to remembering. Mm-hmm. So they're considered, you could say, the primary processes, hearing, chanting, remembering. And in a sense, all the processes are designed to lead to smaranam, Vishnu smaranam, Krishna smaranam, remembering, which means what one's consciousness is Krishna conscious. So the whole idea is to develop Krishna consciousness, which means remembrance of Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
So if smaranam has been achieved, then not only is it a process, but it's a state. So you could say not only is it like a verb, but it's also a noun.
Mm-hmm.
So one can be in a state of smaranam, remembering Krishna, like a platform of Krishna consciousness. But it's also a process, like it's also an active engagement, an action word, smaranam. So it's a process, but it's also the goal of the process. But, so in that sense, you can make a hierarchy, both in terms of chronology and in terms of importance. But at the same time, to make not too much emphasis should be put on the hierarchy of importance, because all of the processes themselves are complete in terms of their ability to deliver the goal.
Yeah, but one leads to another one, not that is more important than...
Not always, no. Not always, no. Not that, it's not like a developmental process necessarily, strictly like, as in Shraddha, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, Anatta Nivriti. It's not, that is a chronological developmental process.
But not here. Okay.
No.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's not as if one must precede the other. Generally, Shravan comes first, and that's why it's given first. But it's not as if you have to do kirtan before you remember Krishna. You can have Shravan, and then you can remember Krishna as a result of hearing about Krishna. It's not as if I do Shravan, now I have to talk about Krishna before I can remember him. Or, Archanam, what is it, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. No, that's the last one. Seva.
Vandanam, Dasyam,
Shakyam. Shakyam is friendship. Yeah, so Prahlad Maharaj lists the 9. Shravanam, as you said, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Parasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So, but they don't have to come in that order.
Okay.
no.
And where it's listed, it's also given the as mentioned, the people that have that have personified those processes. And let's see, Sukadev Goswami through speaking, through kirtan, and as mentioned, Ambarish Maharaj had all of the processes, and who through worship, Prithu Maharaj through Archanam, and Bali Maharaj through Atmanivedanam, and Prahlad Maharaj through Smaranam, and so on. So all these figures, all these high devotees, they're given as examples of those who have achieved perfection through one particular process. Not that they had to go through a chronology of processes and then stop at one process and specialize in that.
Yeah, okay.
There may have been an admixture of various processes, but through dedication to one particular process, they achieved perfection. Like we don't hear of Prahlad Maharaj doing deity worship, do we? He remembered Smaranam, remembered Krishna. Whereas Prithu Maharaj was doing deity worship. And Sukadev Goswami was not doing deity worship. He was not performing Shakyam. Who is the personification of Shakyam? Perhaps Arjuna. Or no, Uddhava, I think. Uddhava. So, Sukadev Goswami was not personifying Shakyam, he was personifying Kirtan, the speaking of the Bhagavad. So each of them is self-sufficient in terms of their capability to deliver spiritual perfection.
What's the difference between speaking and remembering?
Well, you should be remembering if you're speaking, otherwise it's a bit hollow.
I mean, it's the same thing, no? That's what I mean.
Not necessarily, because you can remember without speaking.
Yeah.
And you can speak without remembering. I guess, if you want to get into it that way, then you could say that you should have some amount of smaranam when you're speaking. But, so, the kirtanam should contain smaranam, but the smaranam may not contain kirtanam.
Yeah. May I just ask one last question?
Yeah.
Or the remembering thing, what does it really mean?
It means that you're thinking of Krishna, essentially.
Yeah, but why? I mean, remembering, as we are fallen souls and we have never have the contact.
Well, it's the same as if you love someone and you're thinking about them. It's that. So it's a bhakti process. And it involves. Bhakti involves, of course, the heart, love, devotion, prem. So ultimately, we can say, what is Radharani? What is Gauranga Mahaprabhu? We say that's a better example of who's in the mood of Radharani, has the bhav of Srimati Radharani. What is his? He's thinking of Krishna. He's feeling separation from Krishna. So that's Krishna consciousness. In fact, his name is Sri Krishna Chaitanya, which literally means Krishna consciousness. So that's smaranam. But of course, then we can assume that there's gradations of smaranam. It's not all the same. So smaranam in a different sense would be the smaranam exhibited by Prahlad Maharaj is different to the bhav of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's in the different rasas and not in the Madhura rasa, it's in the Shanta rasa.
How do we remember what if we have never been?
Well, yeah, then our capacity for remembering is just like our capacity for kirtan or friendship or any kind of process of devotional service is a little meager because we're in the practicing stages. But still, what does it entail? Well, however you can remember, then you do so.
But why remember if we have never been in contact with Krishna?
Well, it doesn't mean remember like recalling a past event, like mundane memory.
Okay.
It means thinking or contemplation, smaran. Remembering as in, perhaps remembering concepts, Krishna conscious concepts that you've read. Not as in, in prehistory we were with Krishna and we're trying to remember that. Not in remembering as in, recollecting an event, recalling an event. But more as in keeping Krishna and concepts of bhakti in one's consciousness. You see, the thing is, this happens naturally at a certain stage. At the sadhya stage, there's bhakti there's different ways of categorizing bhakti, but one basic way is that there's sadhana bhakti and then there's sadhya bhakti. So sadhana bhakti means practice, sadhana means practice, and sadhya means perfection or accomplishment. So there's the practicing stage, and then there's the accomplished stage. So at the accomplished stage, one is naturally Krishna conscious. There's no need to practice remembering. It happens naturally. And in that sense, you could say all of the processes of devotional service can have both their sadhana phase and their sadhya phase, their practicing phase and their phase of accomplishment. For instance, worshipping the deity, archanam, the incense, the gilam, etc., the chamara, that can be done as a matter of practice, where you're counting this, 4 to the feet, 2 to the midsection, 3 to the head, or whatever it is. And then, that is like a sadhana, vaidhi bhakti phase. But then, if your consciousness is infused with bhakti, it's an act of love, where you're offering something in love. It's not an act of routine, where you're practicing to develop love. You have that bhakti, and the motions are expressing that. So the motions are not to try and cultivate something inner, but something inner is motivating the external actions, the expressions of bhakti. So all of the 9 processes of devotional service can both function as items of practice or processes of practice, like practicing the archanam, practicing remembering, practicing talking or chanting,
To develop.
kirtan or katha, to develop that quality where then it becomes natural. So it's kind of like that saying, fuel the fire and then eventually the fire will fuel you. That's like a motivational quote, right? So practice certain habits until you reach a certain state, and then you will be naturally fueled. Off to the holy dham. Fuel the fire and then the fire will fuel you. It's actually very true for the bhakti process. I read it in a motivational book once, years ago. Fuel the fire and then the fire will fuel you. But it's true that the Vaidhi Bhakti is fueling the fire, building the fire, and then once the fire has reached a certain intensity, then it will offer up its own fuel. It will be its own fuel. And ultimately, in terms of smaran, there is that verse saying, I'm trying to remember who it's by, but the verse where they say that there's a prayer that this person wants their mind to be obsessed with thoughts of Krishna, just like attracted to Krishna, just like the mind of a young boy or girl is obsessed with their lover. What is the verse? And what's the translation?
Rough translation.
Yeah, give us the rough version.
It's just like a young boy is attracted to a young girl. And
May my mind be attracted to Krishna in the same way.
Well, to give honor to our...
And who's the verse by?
Well, there's two slokas actually that are like that. There's one by Rupa Goswami.
No, that one. Who's it by?
Either Rupa Goswami or Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
That's not by Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Rupa Goswami.
Maybe. Well, it's homework for today. We'll reveal the answer tomorrow. It may be Rupa Goswami, but I'm not convinced.
I'll find it.
I'm trying to think. Anyway, yeah, we'll find it. How does it start again? Yuvantanim. Yuvantanim. Yeah, we'll look it up. It's a famous verse, worthy of memorization. So that one, and that is the development of or a prayer for smaranam. Because smaranam, memory, where is it? It's in one's consciousness. So he's praying that may my consciousness be filled with thoughts. What is the nature of those thoughts? Loving, attraction, infatuation. Say it's compared to that of love in this world, so it may take on a similar appearance. Of course, in nature it's different. It doesn't have all the foibles, the frailties that are concomitant to love in this world. But nonetheless, that's the nature of smaranam. You can see it again expressed. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expressing it in his Vipralamba. Of course, that is the full development of smaranam, and it's in smaranam and Madhura Ras, but ultimately that's the goal. So Guru Maharaj says that smaranam is the goal, Krishna consciousness is the goal. But then, if one is conscious of Krishna, then they sing about Krishna, talk about Krishna. You can say Shravanam also, Kirtanam. And they want to hear about Krishna. So they want to worship Krishna. So they are all interrelated and they all support one another.
So we can't really say there is one more important than others? There's, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to say...
Well, you could say that, you could say that Smaranam is the goal. Mm-hmm. And this has been mentioned by Guru Maharaj, that Smaranam is the goal. Because if there's no Smaranam, then all the other processes may be hollow. Mm-hmm. Go through the motions of Archanam or talking about Krishna. There's no Smaranam, concentration. In that sense, Guru Maharaj says that a more stronger form of Kirtanam is writing about Krishna. Writing about Krishna conscious topics. Because in the speaking, you may be a bit glib, you may be flippant or not concentrating on the topic necessarily. But in writing, you're putting it down on paper, you'll be held accountable for the content by whoever comes across it at a later date. So you have to put more concentration into it. And that concentration is smaranam, concentration of Krishna, on Krishna. So without the smaranam, the kirtan may be insubstantial. And the archanam. You could be offering the ghee lamp and thinking about what's for lunch or something.
Yeah.
What flavour of halava the cook has made. Oh, you don't eat halava, do you? But that's the idea, that smaranam. If one has smaranam, then it's considered they have everything.
So smaranam has to be behind all of the 8 other processes of bhakti.
Yeah, it's going to be part and parcel of it. Because smaranam is the internal. Without smaranam, then what is the person thinking of? It's there in all of them. And all of them, in their practicing stage, are designed to create smaranam. There's no rigidity here. Ultimately, it's a matter of the heart. Bhakti is a quality of the heart. And it's intrinsic. Atma Bhakto, as mentioned in the Brahma Samhita, Vedesha Durlabham, Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. So talking about approaching the Supreme. Vedesha Durlabham. Vedesha refers to the Vedas. Durlabha. Dur means difficult, bad. Labha means to gain something. So Durlabha, it's difficult to gain through the Vedas. Talking about Krishna. So the verse goes, Advaitam, Achutam, Anadim, Anantarupam, Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanamja. Vedesha Durlabham, Adurlabham, Atma Bhakto. So different qualities of the Supreme. Advaitam is one. Achutam, ever fresh. Anadim, no beginning, beginningless. Anantarupam, unlimited forms. Adyam Puranam, Purusham, the original person. Navayovanamja, eternally youthful. But Vedesha Durlabham, he cannot be approached through the Vedas. Very difficult through the Vedas. Vedesha Durlabham, Adurlabham. Means it negates the statement. So Durlabha means difficult to gain. Labha means profit or gain. Dur means a block, an obstacle, difficult. Adurlabham, easy to gain. Vedesha Durlabham, Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. So very, very difficult to gain, to get this Advaitam, Achutam, Anadim, Anantarupam, this person. But very easy through what? Atma Bhakto. Atma means the soul, and Bhakta means devotion. Through the devotion of the Atma, through the Atma's natural devotion, Adurlabha, very easy to gain. Difficult through the Vedas, but very easy through Bhakti. So, Vedesha Durlabham, Adurlabham Atma Bhakto, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. If you want to sing it, Advaitam Achutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanamja Vedesha Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So go and that person, Govinda, Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So of course that's a verse from the Brahma Samhita. But the point being that ultimately it's the devotion that is intrinsic to the Atma, that comes out of the Atma when in contact with Krishna. And there's this whole debate about, in Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, is Atma actually intrinsic to the Jiva? Or is it inherited, or is it bestowed, or is it intrinsic? But this verse seems to imply that it is there. Atma, but it's through the devotion of the Atma, of the soul, natural devotion, that Krishna is reached. So, all of the processes hinge on that natural devotion, that Atma Bhakto. Depend upon that. That is intrinsic to all of the processes. And they're just various expressions according to one's taste and proclivity. All of those processes can evoke that bhakti, say produce that bhakti or evoke it, catalyze its manifestation. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. We'll read a sub-chapter from Revealed Truth by Srila Bhaktisundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj. Heart-melting association. will be the end of the chapter. Heart-melting association is the title of the sub-chapter. A proper guru or Vaishnava has no self-interest or self-satisfying tendency. Such a real devotee has no interest in being served. Rather, he is always engaged in Krishna's service. If we follow the service order and guidance of a proper Vaishnava to engage in service of Krishna or his devotees, then our action will enter the category of devotion through that proper Vaishnava's qualification. Devotion begins by offering ourselves to Krishna, by taking a vow that we will not do anything that is not service to Krishna. But Krishna is transcendental. We cannot offer anything to him directly. We do not have that capacity or qualification. We must offer our service to Krishna through Guru and Vaishnava, through the devotees who have the capacity to directly serve Krishna. When you serve Krishna under their guidance, all responsibility for Krishna's service goes to them, and all the proper results of that service come to you. Krishna knows you are serving Guru Vaishnava for his satisfaction, not for their personal interest. So Krishna must be satisfied with you. Sometimes we may be going on in our practicing life, but feel that we are not progressing. We may be engaged in service and chanting the Lord's holy name, but feel that our faith is not becoming stronger, joy is not coming into our heart, and our mind is not becoming fulfilled by our devotional mood. At that time, we must try to get the association of a good Vaishnava. We must search for a real practitioner who is practicing Krishna consciousness 24 hours a day and get his association. Dadati pratigrinati guyam akyati prishyati bhunkte bojayate chaiva sadvidam pritilakshanam. Upadeshamrita verse 4. Sadhu Sangha means associating with the sadhu like he is our own relative, associating with him in affection, in an affectionate, regardful way. This means giving gifts, materials for service, feeding him, asking him questions, taking his advice, and so on. Through this type of affectionate association with the sadhu, we will be able to understand and feel why we are not inspired in our practicing life. If there is any offensive mood within us, the good association of the sadhu will wash it away. The association of a great sadhu can melt our heart and inspire us with a mood of real dedication. When we see the sadhu engaged in the Lord's service 24 hours a day, our hearts will become joyful. We will feel much inspiration to follow him and connect with the devotional plane ourselves. Sevanmukhi jivado swayameva suratyada. Devotion is so sweet, and gradually, in the finest, most affectionate and lovely way, it will reveal itself in our heart by the grace of the Lord's devotee. Through the service and grace of the Lord's devotees, we will see the Lord's divine play expressed everywhere. Through our tendency to serve and our service to Guru Vaishnava, we will be cleanly and clearly qualified. Nowhere will we not see the sweet, affectionate and lovely movements of the Lord's transcendental service world. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Hari Haraye Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudana. Giridhari Gopinath Vadana Mohana. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra. Vadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Saparikara Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikachari Variyasto Tarasata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikachari Variyasto Tarasata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Shri Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajikachari Variyasto Tarasata Shri Srimad Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Varg Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Samveda Vaishnav Mandala Ki Jai. Samveda Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.